Well, hello, friends, neighbors. Welcome to the deck. I think this is the first deck video of the year. It's still snow on the ground and minus I don't know what, but the sun is out and strong, and here in this covered deck, it's a beauty. It's Sunday, so I want to talk a couple of samples. Now, I know we're in March, but I don't have any Irish samples, so I'm going to go for some two big bourbon samples from Dave. Dave also made these custom Glencairns, very cool. So I had a little warm-up dram of Maker's Mark, and the reason is, of these two samples, the first one, this one, is Maker's Mark, but it's one of the private select. I believe it's from the Total Wine, one of the Total Wines in Texas. I don't know enough about the actual staves of this, we'll talk later, but the first sample, Maker's Mark, private select, 110 proof. The second one is a Baker's single barrel. It's Baker's 7 single barrel, 107 proof. Obviously, when we come back, we'll nose them, we'll taste them, we'll see what we get out of these great samples from Dave. A couple of big bourbons when we come back.
3, 4.
Well, thanks for staying with me through the break. As I said, these are some big bourbons. Now, I don't know the details. You know, Dave did send a picture of the bottle, but not the back. This Maker's Private Select, 110.2. The way Maker's does Private Select is it's their 101, or their cask strength, I should say, not 101, but their cask strength Maker's Mark. And then they age it an additional, is it 9 weeks, 9 months? I don't remember. But with the addition of certain toasted staves. I'll probably remember them all here, but they have the staves they use for Maker's 46. They have 3 French ones. What's that? French Cuvée, Mocha. Oh, I'm going to forget. And they have one that's called American Pie. But basically all of these different oaks, I imagine the French ones are 3 French oaks, but they're toasted or prepared in a certain way. And then when they're aged in the barrel with the whiskey, of course, they impart different liquids. And as I understand the private select process, the people from Total Wine get to taste different whiskeys and then get to say, okay, we'd like our recipe to have, 6 of these and 5 of those and that kind of thing. Very cool. I've never had a Maker's Private Select. Of course, Maker's is pretty much famous for being a wheated bourbon. So instead of a high rye, they use wheat, of course, predominantly corn and a mix of barley. So 110.2 Private Select. Boy, for 110 proof, it's a rich nose. Darker spices, a little bit of cooked apple. Yeah, some nice, rich cooked baking spices. The nose to me, spicy, rich, thick, and asks for a sip. Cheers. Very interesting. Coating, thick. Dark spice, dark cinnamon, mocha, caramel, burnt caramel. More oak, more cooked oak, burnt oak. Char, mocha again. So for me, that's espresso, a dark coffee press. Better taste again. This is really singing my tune. And that tune is a lot of oak, a lot of dark cooked spice, woody, a heavy espresso. It's the kind of dram that I liked. I'm glad I poured a little bit, and I'll try again a little bit later. you know, that I'd like to consider. It could put some off. It's missing a little bit of bright fruit and a little bit of a lighter, you know, lighter cherry or lighter apple or something to cut it a bit. It's really pushing into that cooked creme brulee side of the flavor wheel for me, which I like a lot. So that has encouraged me. I maybe if anyone knows the Stav oak recipe, that the Texas Total Wine, the 110.2 proof, I'd love to know what the recipe was. Next time I see a Private Select up here, I think I'll go for it. Okay, that was the Makers Private Select. Let's take a look at this Baker's. Now the Baker's that was sent to me says 8 years, 3 months, 107 proof, and it is another single barrel. Quite different on the nose. I'm just gonna kind of compare here. Yeah, whereas this is almost a bitter, but I didn't catch that, but I'm just saying a darker spice, darker cooked baking. This has some of that, but we're going to add some characteristic Jim Beam nuttiness to it. Yep, it's funny. Could be that it's my first tasting outside. There we go, a little richness. Got a little alcohol on that one. Struggling to get past a light toffee, light caramel. A little more nut. Yeah. Let's try the palate on the Baker single barrel. I could be biased. This to me, very tasty, sweeter caramels, lighter vanillas, clear peanut or nut influence in a cooked buttered peanut crack, peanut brittle, really falling into that place. Now it's good. It's got a little more spicing on the edge than the other one. By that I mean a peppering spice, but another really tasty bourbon. Wow. So buttery, cinnamon, peanut, whereas the Makers very uniquely dark espresso. Wow. Don't know how to pick a favorite here. These are great samples, Dave. Really like that I've been able to try them. Would seriously consider buying either of them. I think actually this Baker's 8-year-old, the Baker, 8-year-old, 3 months, 107, might have a broader appeal. Yeah, I think it would. I really like that Makers, but the Makers, I could be wrong, but it's tasting to me like a significant amount of French oak in there that can create a real, almost an over oaked or woodiness that some people can react to. So if I was recommending, I'd probably say this Baker's, especially if you're a Jim Beam aficionado. I don't want to say fanboy, but someone who likes Jim Beam, that's a must buy. The Makers, I love it. Really thankful I have it. And as I said, I'll probably buy a Private Select next time, but it's not as universally, in my opinion. I think it is really trending into some pretty heavy toasted oak. Wow. Well, I just can't thank Dave enough for sending the samples and for making these beautiful Glencairns. For you guys, for joining me here. I hope you had a little bourbon, and maybe if you had some Bakers or Makers and kind of tasted the difference with what you might have with what's out here. And for joining me on the deck. Wow, what a beautiful day. I hope I can shoot more out here. Have a great weekend, you guys. Cheers.